Okay, everybody, I think that we've got most people in now, so I think we might get started. Vivek and Dan, when you're ready to go.
Thanks, Megan.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us, guys. Yeah, we're excited to have this webinar and talk to you about connecting with Dahlsens and accessing your price list. So just a bit of an intro from mine. My name is Vivek Shetty, and I've been working in the residential construction software space for about 8 to 9 years now, since 2012. So yeah, and then now I'm working with Dahlsens. I've been working with Jamie Dahlsen and the Dahlsens team, also with Steve Allison and Buildxact team to get the connection between Dahlsens and Buildxact going. And also, as you can see today, we've got Dan Conlon from Buildxact. Thanks for joining us, Dan.
No worries. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Excellent. Dan, would you want to just give a quick intro about yourself as well, mate, before I jump into and talk about housekeeping?
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, as Vivek said, my name's Dan. I'm from Buildxact. I've been with Buildxact since about 2013. And most of what I'm doing with Buildxact is around training videos, making sure people are learning the software, using it effectively. I run a lot of the webinars. If you've seen any of our stuff, you probably are already sick of my voice. But yeah, I'm on very heavily on the training side of making sure people understand how Buildxact works. Excellent.
Thanks, Dan. Yes, mate, I'm sure everyone's heard and or seen you in the webinars and videos. So just a bit of a housekeeping, guys, before we start off. Mainly, we've got, as you can see, this is not a webinar. This is more of a meeting sort of a session. So if you want, you can put your cameras on. We can see you if you're comfortable doing that. It's your call. Now, we do have muted all of your microphones. This is just so that we can go through the webinar without any unforeseen disturbances, but we will open up the Q&A session at the end of this when you can unmute yourself and ask some questions. However, during the webinar, if you feel like you have any questions that pop up in your mind, feel free to use the chat window to ask those questions. So right at the bottom, you will see an option called chat. And while you're asking the question, you can either ask the question and show it to everybody, or just us. You'll see that in the drop down to choose from. Feel free to ask away. We will try to get to your questions through the webinar. But if you can't get to it, then we'll come back to it at the end of the session. And also just want to say why we're doing this webinar as well, guys. Now, as you know, you can connect with Dahlsens through Buildxact. So we just want to talk about that process a little bit and say what we are doing in Buildxact. Also talk about how you can access Dahlsens Pricelists, because I had a few questions from some builders that I was speaking to as to how to get access to the Dahlsens prices that we are keeping updated for you. And also, I know some of you would have already set up your estimation templates, but still there are some that are beginning their process and setting it up as well. So Dan would show us a couple of tips on how to set the estimation templates, a few different ways of doing that, and talk a little bit about recipes, just so you know what they are. And also, we will be recording the session just in case someone's missed this session, they couldn't join in today. They have this link to just fall back to. You can do it yourself if you feel like you've missed something. You could just jump back and have a look. I think that's about it, guys. So Dan, I'm just gonna, I think you can share your screen, but I just wanna tell the viewers that the first thing we'll be doing is show you how to connect with Dahlsens. Now, some of you may have already connected with this, but if not, Dan will show you how to do that. And while connecting, guys, you need your customer reference number, the Dahlsens customer reference number, to be connected or to initiate the connection. Now, if you do not have that with you, feel free to ask your account manager, or you could even check it out in your invoice. You must have that number there. And if you do not have an account with this, while you're going into integrations, you will notice that there is a link there to apply for an account as well. So you could just click on apply now and go through the process of applying for an account, and then connect with us when you have the customer reference number. Now, Dan is pulling up that screen for you. So I'll hand the mic over to Dan, the hypothetical mic, Dan, and then you can chat away.
Perfect. Thank you, Vivek. So yeah, as Vivek said, I'm going to just go through the connection process, which is how do you actually plug yourself into the Dahlsens pricing, and how does that then feed pricing into your account. Towards the end, Vivek's going to look at how do you like estimate with Dahlsens prices. So I'm more for now just concerned with how to get the connection up and running. But basically, in your account, you'll have integrations. You might have been in here before because you've connected things like Xero or an accounting system other than Xero, like MyOb or QuickBooks. But you jump in here, you go supplier integration, and you basically grab Dahlsens, go connect, and this is the number Vivek was talking about. We need your customer reference number. Pretty much what you're doing is putting some information together, sending it off to Dahlsens. As you can see, mine's requested, and I've sent them, my business name, my customer number, etc. And what happens now is Dahlsens have a look at it and go, yay or nay, I know who this person is. Most of the time, they'll go, yep, you're a customer, I know who you are. And at that point, the connection will get approved, which Vivek may be able to do for me.
Yep.
Beautiful, thank you, sir. So yeah, it'll then get connected, and you'll get notified that that connection's happened. You'll get little alerts within this integration section, like little orange numbers telling you, hey, there's things to look out for. And once that happens, there's really only one final step to actually grab the pricing that's on offer to you and throw it into your account. And that is that you would come in here and it'll show you all the different lists that are on offer to you. So what this means is Dahlsens have different lists for different people, different segments, etc. And you can go, I'll just set this to the way it'll look when you get in here. You'll be able to go in and say, yep, I want this builder price list with all my rates in it, and I want the recipes as well, subscribe. And all you're really doing is saying, of all the stuff that's on offer to me, I want these ones to show up in my catalogs area, which makes it available for you, makes it all go.
That's right, Dan. I think the key thing to look for is that subscribe tag on top, isn't it? Because I've had a few builders who did not realize that we are sharing the prices with them. So I would recommend everyone coming in here and just having a quick look to see if you have subscribed to your price list. And obviously the name that we put there, that's a sample name, but you will have your business name written up there to indicate that it's your price list, right? That's only visible to you and no one else.
Yep, spot on. And like Vivek said, we've definitely had people who have contacted us going, hey, I've connected to Dahlsens, but my prices aren't showing. And it's just that they haven't subscribed to any lists. So yeah, great point. Well worth being aware of. Once you've gone and picked your price lists, what it essentially does is brings your Dahlsens pricing into the catalogs area, which is where we're going to, as Buildxact, store any price lists. So this will be Dahlsens ones, ones you've added yourself, lists you've loaded, lists you've added. It's all going to be mashed in together here, and you'll be able to go through the Dahlsens list, see what rates are on offer for you. And then, as I mentioned, towards the end of this session, Vivek's going to go through and show you how you would actually grab these when you want to estimate with them. But that first few steps is how you connect and how you get those prices into your account to begin with. If there's any questions on this as we're going, pop it into the chat. We've already mentioned that we'll have a big Q&A section at the end, but yeah, do pop us some questions if you have them. The next thing, or the next two big things I'm going to cover are around estimate templates, which is the idea that you can basically preset estimates before you get them out to your client. You can save yourself a bunch of work. And I'm also going to have a good look at recipes, which is something we actually get a lot of questions about. And it's something that Dahlsens have gone down the path of building and sharing recipes with you guys as well. So I want to make mention of that too. But first things first, in short, a template or an estimate template for Buildxact is, like I said, a preset estimate. And the whole point of this is when you start a new quote, If you've done this, you probably noticed, hey, it gives you this checklist of all the items that go into your quote. And what you're wanting to do here to make yourself more efficient is basically be able to customize how your quotes start. Like, what do they look like when you start a new quote? And this is where templates come in. So if you had just hit create new and it's given you a brand new estimate, without even knowing it, you've probably been using one of our Buildxact templates, which is the single story one. But the things I'll go through here are how to make your own and kind of a couple of tips on the best ways to do it. So in short, there's really 3 ways you can make a template for yourself. Option 1, you can absolutely go steal a Buildxact one and copy it. Totally fine. We do get questions from people going, hey, there's locks on them, I can't use them. That just means someone else manages it. You can't mess with the original version, but you can 100% go and copy a copy of that and then go from there. So you could say, hey, this double story template, I want that one. Copy. And I'm going to call this my double story template. See how my spelling goes through this webinar. It's a double story. Awesome. Customer name, I'm going to reuse this template over and over and over. So there's no real customer in mind. I just put template or something like that. And I'm going to bang on about these little tick boxes a few times, but really all you need to know about these, if you haven't seen it before, is whenever you copy a quote or a template in Buildxact, it's saying, these are all the bits that you can copy. And you could say, look, I want to copy a quote without the existing plans, without the existing measurements, or I don't want any of the notes, documents. It's just literally saying there's 8, I think there's 8 boxes there, 8 things that make up these quotes. Which bits do you want to grab and move over? So for me, I tell people, if you're not super sure on this, just click everything. And the worst possible thing that will happen is you have to go and delete something. So what I've done here is make myself a new estimate just in here. And a lot of people get this far, but the missing piece is it has to live in the templates area for it to be kind of out of your way. And the missing piece is that in that template that we've just made, you'd go into this drop down where you'd normally be telling us, hey, it's in progress or it's sent to my client. Those things you'd be using for a legitimate or a real quote. You'll go template and Buildxact goes, cool, it's not in the estimate list anymore. It's now down here. And this just means that you can have as many templates as you like. So for example, we'll have people who have, a stock reno template versus a single story versus an extension. And it's very much up to you how far the rabbit hole you go. I suppose one of the biggest tips we give on templates is if you're in doubt on what to put in it, more is better. So generally, if people are going, which one do I start with? Start with the biggest template, just because as you use them, Buildxact will ignore things that you don't put a price against. So even if you've got this humongous template and you don't price half of it, those $0 items will just disappear. Anyway, that's option 1 on making a template. Option 2, probably the most common one we see, and that's that you can go steal from an old quote that you've done and make that a template. So this is really good if you've started with Buildxact, you've done a couple of estimates and you go, hey, Bobby's home, when I did that, that was just A+. I want to steal that and make that my template. Make a copy of it. Always make a copy because you don't want to just destroy your original version. I'm going to call this single story template. Again, customer's not relevant to me. It's just going to be new customer every time. And now this one is interesting because it had plans and had takeoffs in it. So I'm going to be a bit more selective on what stuff I bring across. And this categories and items, this is the bulk of it. This is the full list of all the items that make up your quote. So this, if you're ever in doubt, this is probably about 90% of your whole template just on its own. This is a super key one. But we'll grab that estimate, we'll copy it like we did before, and again, like we did before, the final step is just making it a template using this drop down. While I'm in here, I'll make two other points in that these templates look and feel like real quotes. So that kind of leads me into a point here that you can basically do anything that you could do in a regular quote in a template. So for example, if you want to preset markup to always be in your new quotes at 20%, easy as, you can do that. If you want to preset your costs to live in your categories, you can do that kind of stuff. You can preset PC items to be on, you can preset specifications to be in. Literally anything you'll do in a regular quote, you can store in a template. And actually the single most common thing we see people do is when they get an old quote like this is zero out a whole bunch of stuff, because their complaint to us is, hey, when I start my new quote, I don't want it to be 250 grand. I want it to be zero, and then I'll just add in quantities as I go. And all the prices are there. So when they use it next time, they're just going, one of that, and away they go. It's just adding prices back in. Now, lucky last on the how do I do a template part is just the third way, which is generally used more by people who have an existing Excel document that they're used to quoting out of, and they want to get that format and bring it into Buildxact. So what I'm going to do is show you that you can import from Excel, and I'm going to run through and go new estimate here. I'm going to call it my Excel template. Awesome, and I'm making use of this thing, which is the import from Excel. You can import heaps of stuff from Excel, like estimates, price lists, contacts, clients. If you do go down the path of doing this yourself, I suggest you go into our Explore section and either contact our support team. There's a really good article that explains how this works, or better yet, click on Explore and there's a FAQ section it's like a Q&A kind of library, and you could search for loading an estimate, and it'll have an article just talking about how you do this. But I'm going to go browse, go find my Excel file, and that's the one I want. This is the step for importing that most people struggle with, and hence I'll spend an extra second here. It's not, once you've got your head around it, it's very straightforward. It's just reading it for the first time is a bit confusing. So what I'm saying is, in my Excel spreadsheet, I had a column called stage, and I had a column with the heading items, and I had another column with the heading of quantity, another one with the heading of unit of measure. And all I'm doing is translating, so to speak, that into what Buildxact understands. So I'm saying, hey, when my spreadsheet says stage, that to you, Buildxact, that means category. And when we talk about items, that whole column, that's all just descriptions. So you literally are translating from your spreadsheet into what words we use. And quantity is the same, unit of measure is the same. If you ever need to ignore something, totally fine, just cross it off. But I will actually put that in. And it'll give you a preview, and if it looks like your original spreadsheet, then absolute winner. If it's all zeros, you should probably take a step back and check what boxes you clicked. But that will throw it in. I'll do the make it a template trick. And this is basically bringing in what I had in an Excel doc. So I've just got this checklist. Main reason this is good is A, it brings in what you're kind of used to already, and B, you get all the benefits of the other Buildxact tools like takeoffs and pushing this through to purchase orders later. So it's really just combining two different ways that you've been used to working.
Yeah, and I think sorry to jump in, Dan.
Of
I
course,
think
mate.
this is a good place for them to, yeah, like you said, see what they're used to in an Excel, write in Buildxact, and use all the functionality of Buildxact. So what we can do after this call is, if anyone needs that template that Dan just used to put that in here, I'm happy to share that with you guys, and then you can modify that based on, copy paste from your Excel and just load that into Buildxact. Or like Dan was saying, down there in Explore, you can always go there and download the templates from the respective sections as well. Or you could even Google it, I think, the Buildxact's word on it, and it'll take you to that respective documentation where you can download that.
Exactly right. So quick side note, if you haven't seen our help section, this is just the FAQs one, where it's just a library and you can search for things. And this would be the one you'd be keen on, uploading estimates. But yeah, reach out if you need a hand. Both Dahlsens and Buildxact, more than happy to help.
Yeah, and I just want to say a quick point here before you jump onto recipes, Dan, is that we were talking about how to create your templates. Obviously, the templates, like you said, are those master lists that most builders do have a master Excel copy of their estimate. That's what you're doing here. You're keeping a separate section as a master copy, and you keep modifying that if you see that you want to add a few items and so on and so forth. Now, obviously, that means that if you have one too many templates in there, then it'll be hard for someone to maintain all of those templates and keep them up to date, right? So I think it's from what I saw, it'll be a good option to have a few key templates, like single story, double story, and just use them to chop and change as the job changes, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a really good point. So actually, two really good points there. One is that, yeah, fewer templates, generally speaking, easier to maintain. And a trick to kind of have those fewer templates is to have fewer but larger templates. So a single story can cover an extension, for example, because all you would be doing is grabbing single story and cutting out a bunch of things that don't relate to an extension. So think of it that way. Think of starting with the biggest template you can. And if you're stuck on inspiration, either check out some of the Buildxact ones or reach out to Vivek, as you were saying, with that list he was talking about as well. The other point that's really worth a mention was just, you were saying, Vivek, about keeping them up to date or kind of improving them as you go. And we see this happen a lot. So the idea here is that let's say you run it, you use this template, you make a quote, issue the quote, you run the job, and then you're going through and you realize, hey, the price I put in there for plaster is too low, or I don't allow enough labor for frame generally. The idea is that because this template's going to be used again and again and again, you can come back here and just make changes to it, like improve it. And if there's things you're missing in a job, you pop it in for the next time, and that next estimate will have that extra line in there, or it'll be basically trying to cover where you were selling yourself a little bit short on that job. So I really like the idea that you can use them to kind of learn from your job, come back to the template, make it better, do the job, make the template better, and just kind of continually improve, I suppose. So yeah, really good point there, Vivek, as well.
Okay, excellent, thanks, Len. And there was a question here about pricing. We'll come to that later section when we talk about pricing, and I'll just let Dan continue with the recipe side of things. Perfect.
Rightio. So I'm going to use a estimate I have already. And real quick intro just into what a recipe is for those that maybe don't know. Go fixing. Beautiful. A door is a really easy example. But best summary here is, if you've been using Buildxact a bit, you've more than likely just been using single lines like this. So one line for the cost of skirt, one line for the cost of door, one line for the cost of concrete. If you've been doing Excel, probably you've been doing the same thing. Where a recipe comes in, and I know these are recipes because they're blue, little tip, or if I'm editing, the little recipe button here goes blue. Basically what a recipe is one line that has multiple parts to it. So think of them as like a group of items or a set or whatever you want to call it. And there's kind of two main benefits to them. One is that I can grab a whole set of items like this door and throw it in really quick, where I'm adding several things at once. The other is if I had, let's say, 5 doors, and I'll go through in detail in a sec how this is thinking, but it's converting it to 55 linear meters of skirt. So you can make recipes do a lot of the thinking for you, which means that when you get to purchasing or when you're printing out your bill of quantities, it's not saying, let's say for a concrete, it's not saying 50 square meters, it's saying this many cubes, this many bar chairs, this many sheets of mesh. You can actually build smartness into it, so to speak, and then have it convert so that when you're purchasing or looking at your shopping list, it already knows those kind of buyable quantities. I'll quickly run through this one, then we'll go have a look at bricks, which is a good square meter example. We'll do framing, which is a good lineal one, and then we'll have a look at some of the Dahlsens recipes that are in here as well. But simply put, for one door, and it's always the same rule of thumb where all of this fits into one of this. So I'm always starting with one door. One door contains a door, a jam, $80. And I should add, I've been pretty lazy just not pulling actual price items through, but Vivek will talk more about that. I've got hardware, so a handle, 3 hinges, 50 cents each, skirt, 11 meters, and I can put whatever units I want. They don't have to match the one at the top. Plus I've said 2 hours for install. And for my 5 doors, I've got 10 hours total labor, 55 meters of skirt, 15 hinges. So it does the thinking for you. Quick pointer here, if you make the world's best recipe, you can save them into your catalogs library with this Save As button as well. Or better yet, you can throw them into a template and use them every time. Awesome, let's go to brick. And I'm going to go through an example here just from square meters. So I'll open up this one that I already had. Basically what I've done so far is I've measured the square meters on the wall, 112. And I'm saying in each square meter, I want to use 52 individual bricks at $1.50, which you can instantly see gives me the number of bricks, which is a common question we get. Hey, I can measure square meters really easy, but I want the numbers of bricks. I'm going to add a few extra things in here. We'll go like bricklayer, where I'll just put him in per square meter. So he'll be 70 a square. Put things in like ties. And again, I'm being lazy, not searching for things. Where I want, say, 5 individual ties in each meter. And you can see again, it's multiplying all this stuff out. So the whole wall is 560 ties. Then we get into stuff that's a bit more curly, like sand and cement. And the reason it's curly is if I want to split this into like cubes of sand, where it's 75 a cube, or cement, where it's, let's just say I'll do it per bag, where it's like $8 a bag. I'm going to use less than one of these in a square meter. So it's going to be a fraction, and that's where it gets a bit confusing for people. The way I think of it is I generally add notes like this to myself. 20 square meters equals 1 cube. Or for cement, 10 square meters equals 1 bag. And if you're looking for this kind of info, Google is your best friend. Go search for it, go ask a bricklayer. There is a lot of info about how much material fits into brick walls, especially. But the missing piece here is I'm going to go calculator and work out what fraction of this cube fits in. And the thinking's always the same. It's the 1 square meter that I care about in this wall divided by the 20 square that this thing can do, this cube of sand can do. So put it another way, I'm using a 20th of a cube in each square meter. And there's a really good way to cheat and check that you've done this right. which is to say, if 20 square meters equals a cube and the entire wall is exactly 20 square meters, then it should give you 1 cube. So you can always punch in the cover down here just to double check that it's giving you that 1 cube. It's an easy way to cheat and check. Cement, totally the same. 1 divided by however much it can do, so 10 square. So we're using 1/10 of a bag, and I could do the same 10 square meter trick here to check if I wanted to. But overall, yeah, I get 5.6 cubes, 11 bags of cement, and it's gone and done all the thinking for me, which is the best bit. I'll keep moving just so in the interest of time, really. Although if there are questions, let us know. We're going to go look at frame, and I will mention that within our help article section, there is an entire write-up on what I'm about to cover. So particularly this one, if you're the kind of person who wants to sit down and kind of mull over the maths of this, I've written all this stuff down so you can go through and basically see how I've thought it up. And it should be identical to the one I'm about to do, the example I'm going to do here. So pretty much what I do for frame, I have 3 lines that all go together. So I got 1 line for top plate, bottom plate, nogs, studs. I've got another one that just adds ribbon plate where I need it. And I've got one that just adds extra studs for junctions. Now, I should say, this is how I've kind of thought it through. If you take this and you change it for your own way of working, awesome, that's great. You know, go for it. This is just how I've kind of thought it through. So recipe 1 is per lineal meter. And the first 3 are really easy because plates, nogs will lie flat. So in 1 meter of wall, there is a meter of these things. It's the studs where everyone gets unstuck. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and show you how I thought this through and how the maths works. And this is probably something you've done a million times. I'd be sure you guys have measured up a total wall and gone, hey, look, 150 meters divided by the spacing gives me the number of studs. In Buildxact world, the only difference is, remember, we only care about 1 meter at a time, and then we multiply the whole thing out. So all I care about is how many studs fit into 1 meter, or this really tiny short wall, which for me is 2.222 studs at the cost per stud. Don't stress too much about the prices I've used. I realize timber's going a bit mental. It's probably not overly accurate, this one anymore. But the how it's thought through is the important bit. On my plan, I would go and measure with lineal meters all around all the internal and external walls, and then use the ribbon plate to just work out where on the external walls I need extra plate. I do absolutely see people who have 1 recipe for external walls and 1 for internal. If that's how you prefer, that's cool. That's fine too. But I'll jump into the junctions part, and I'll actually show you how I measure this, because this is a very simple recipe. All I'm saying here is that in 1 junction, you've got basically 3 studs together. And I want to, the black one here, I say is already counted in the run of studs in my other recipe. So all I'm doing here is just adding 2 extra studs around the place. And I'm counting each junction and saying 2 more here, 2 more here, which is literally what this is doing. Each dot on the plan equals 2 studs. So for my takeoff, it looks like this, where all I've done, like I said, is just go count all the junctions. And because now you kind of get a sense of how it thinks, you can do other things with it too. So I've definitely seen people use this for windows too, because a window will have its stud either side. So that's jam studs taken care of. And I'll hide these labels because they get super messy. So again, all the dot is doing is saying the dot equals 2 studs, and you can put them wherever you like. Awesome. Hope that makes sense so far. The final point for me on recipes, and obviously questions we can tackle later. The final point for me on recipes is, as you're going through, how can you find existing recipes to kind of get this ball rolling? So if you are in Buildxact and you add a new line or you click this recipe button ever, you'll have browse. And there's going to be, basically, for you guys, there'll be extra recipes in here. So for my account, this is probably what yours will look like. You'll have Buildxact recipes, about 100 stock ones. I think you guys have got an advantage getting the Dahlsens ones because they've been, they're using accurate rates, whereas ours are kind of examples. So the Dahlsens ones, if you're getting them, awesome. I would absolutely go for them. And the My Recipes are just ones you've saved yourself. So you could absolutely go in and go, hey, this Dahlsens one, I want a framing recipe. Bang, and I could drop it in and go from there. So just to know that there's a heap of stuff you can grab at and kind of get started with.
Yeah, just a quick one while you're on this, Dan. Those prices that we've put there are the retail price, or something that the builders will not be buying for that price, because we had to link it to a master list from our end, prices from our end, but the customers will be able to relink them to their own prices and they get their pricing on each of those recipes. So that's a really positive, even more accurate estimation tool for them.
Spot on.
Yeah, I'll show how to do that in my section now when I walk through as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all the things I've got on my list. So I'll pass to you, Vivek, for now.
Sure.
So to cover off accessing price lists and relinking.
Excellent.
Over to you.
Thanks, Dan. All right, so let me bring up my screen and share it. I believe you can see my screen now. All right, so now, first things first, guys. Dan showed you a bit about catalogs already. So when you come in here, you will see a list of catalogs in there. Now, if you have subscribed to Dahlsens Pricelists, sorry, price lists and catalogs, the same thing, but Buildxact called that catalog, and we call it price list. You should see our price list in there. It should have a lock icon next to it, which means someone else owns and manages this catalog or price list for you. You may also have some other prices in here, which you uploaded a while ago, or before we came into the scene. So you may have those ones sitting there as well. So while you're picking and finding pricing from your catalogs, make sure you use the one that we are sharing with you now, because that's the one that will have the accurate pricing. And the other ones, we will not be able to update them because that's something that you've loaded in there. So I think what will happen is eventually you will find all the pricing from the catalog that we are sharing, and you can phase out or delete or hide the ones that you had uploaded before, because it would not be that relevant, right? But you may have some items that are sitting in your price list, which is not in the one that we are sharing. So if you have any products that you would like added to the price list, just let us know. You will have my contact details sent in an email after this webinar. You can let us know what products you want added. We will try our best to add that to your price list in the next run or the run after. We'll try to get to that as soon as possible. Right, now I want to show you how to access our price list that we're sharing with you through your estimate. So while you jump in here, guys, I've got a sample estimate running here. So I'm just going to open that. And let me look at something like cladding, maybe. So I've got a line item here sitting in there as a cladding allowance, and I've got 50 sheets that I want to buy. Now, what I would do is just come in here and just double click or click on edit. And then it allows you to obviously type things in. So you can look for the word Hardy Flex. And then what that does is gives you a drop down. As you can see, there's Dahlsens prices showing up here. You will see Dahlsens dash your business name, and that will be your current prices that we are sharing with you. So you can click on that, choose the item that should put a code in there. and also like the item code and our catalog's name. Now, I know this gives you a quick access to it, but what I personally like is this view here. When you click on the magnifying glass, it opens up another screen where it shows you clearly that you're picking it up from this price list, and it has a list of all the items with that word in it. Now, obviously, you can remove this. That way, you get to see the whole catalog broken down by respective categories. So you can go into cladding, and then you can go through the pages and pick the item you need, or you could type it up here as we did before. Get the wording wrong. Yeah, there it is. So let me just pick one of these right now. You see this code here. You can also search from this product code, but I'm not sure if you would always know the codes that we have stored in our system. So you could make a combination of, description, try to search what you want, or use this magnifying glass to find the product. Now let's save that. Now, as you can see, it's got 50 quantities, so it's doing that total for you. But let's say you don't just want to order the Hardy Flex, but you want to use the whole recipe to estimate cladding. Now, as Dan mentioned, we have been, some of you would not have access to this. We've just started giving access to our recipes. Our estimators have written a set of recipes that you can readily use yourself. Now, whoever needs this recipe, we can share that with them. I'll make sure that we share it with everybody that's here, and also the other customers. Now, please note that this is something that we're trying for the first time. So if you have any feedback on this, guys, would be highly appreciated. And we can make the respective changes to the recipes if it's not to the mark. But the way you would look for the recipes again is just type cladding here, and there would be a drop down, and you should say these are all from the prices. As you can see, it says Buildxact price list. Now, if you want to search the recipe like Dan was showing, click on these stacks. That opens up a section which will think that you're about to write a recipe, but instead you tell it that you want to browse through the recipes, and then you will see Dahlsens recipe catalog. Just like the pricing, you will see a recipe catalog. Again, there's cladding category here, and then you have all these cladding recipes. So let me just pick one to show you what it looks like. All right, as you can see, we've put a couple of labor elements here as well. This type should have been labor. And then you've got the joint cylinders and cladding itself, cement nails, etc. Everything measured up to be the quantity for 1 meter square. And then that's how you would access Dahlsens recipes, right? Now, you can create, save this as your own recipe after, and then modify that, or you can add more lines in here if you want and save it as your own. So you can do all sorts of things there. Let me save this, and I close and come out of it. So now when I save, it's got the recipe in there, and it's got all the items in there as well. Now that's 2 things done, which is finding and looking for an item from your price list, or looking for a recipe from the catalog that we've been sharing. Now, I just want to show you quickly on the framing side as well. Now here, again, pine stud frame, quickly looking for recipes. And we've got framing recipes, and then you've got all these pine stud frames, different lengths. So you could just do that. And you'll see something different here. Some of the items have been locked into a catalog. So now what it's saying is it's picking the Dahlsens code and adding it into the recipe. You can always go in there and search for these items as well. So let me look for some pine. So you can always search just like you did before from the estimate. You can again go to the price list and pick the products from there. I'm just going to pick anything. This is not going to be the right one because I'm not making sure the measurement's right, but this is how you pick it, and the code will come in there. Now, you will see 2 codes here, guys. You don't have to worry about this too much right now, but I will show you how to relink them. But what it's doing is it's got some of the items connected to the catalog that we had linked the recipe to initially, but you can relink all of them to your catalog by just going and searching for it and picking it from your price list. Or you can do it in one shot from this screen here. I'll show you that in a quick sec because I want to show you something else before I jump on it. Now, I had a question from Craig earlier about the pricing. So now Buildxact does tell you if the price has changed for a product. That is, this item here was linked to your catalog, Dahlsens catalog. That's why it's got a number in there. And then now Buildxact can see that this month in August, the price has updated in your catalog, right? So obviously Buildxact would not automatically change it in the background for you because you don't want your estimate costings to change on the go. So you have the right to update every estimate of yours based on the price change. Right? The way you would do that is if it's got this exclamation mark, you click on that and it says, oh, the price has changed. The catalog last updated on the 9th of August. And then it's got this updated pricing there. Guys, be mindful, this pricing that I've got here is just some random pricing that I put in there. Your pricing is going to be different. It's going to be specific to you, but this is just some pricing that I've put in this for the demo purposes. So yeah, you can click on that and you can apply this price if you want from here. Or you could come up here. This is a new feature from Buildxact called update linked items. This is a very handy feature, guys. Just have a look at it yourself. That is, you click on that. I won't dwell too much into the screen right now because there's a lot going on. If you have any more questions about this, you can ask Buildxact, but I'll quickly tell you a little bit about what's happening here. As you can see, it's saying that this item, it was 120 before, but it's 133 now. So it's highlighting clearly what's changing. And then what you got to, the reason you have this screen is just to quickly update all the links. As you can see here, it says update 14 links. You can check and see, okay, let's say you don't want to update this one. You can click on that and say, I want to ignore this item. And then you can click update or whatever you've picked. Now, before you do that, just a quick one here. It's looking at this catalog to pick most of your pricing from. Now, that should be your Dahlsens catalog that we share with you. You can search from the drop down and pick that and put that right on the top. And then click on update 14 links. It says to you, are you sure? You say yes. It's gone in there and updated the items for you. You don't have the exclamation mark anymore because it's using the accurate pricing from your price list. Right. We've tried our best to keep your pricing up to date, guys, just because it's easier for you to have accurate pricing ready when you're estimating the job. As you know, there's a fair bit happening right now in the industry. So we're trying to keep your pricing up to date. And you can order from this pricing as well. That is when we won't cover this in this webinar because we will have another webinar where we talk about the creation of orders, etc. Because there is some work being done from our end just to make sure we can give you the best experience from our end. But you can, however, go to the order section and pick the pricing from your price list and send an order to Dahlsens, and they'll be able to process that for you from there on, because whatever you pick from your Dahlsens price list here will be the accurate pricing. So that's why it's key for you to pick it up from the prices that we are sharing with you. So, and then another way, now I did have a lot of questions from some of the builders who have a lot of their estimates or their existing estimates linked to some of the old catalogs that they uploaded themselves or prices they uploaded themselves. You can go one by one and pick up those items that are linked to, let's see, installation, something there, yeah. If it's linked to something else, come in here, guys, and just search again from the prices and pick it up from your price list so that it gets updated. And once you update this link in your template that Dan was talking about earlier, that's locked in there for you. That's the first step for you to do, just to go ahead and update all of them. If you don't want to go one by one, obviously you can use the update linked item section that I showed before and relink your estimates. Now, this is a new screen, guys. There's a bit of work being done. If you see any issues with that, please let Buildxact know. They'll sort it as soon as they can. And also, like I said, if you have any questions about this, their support team will be happy to help you out with their answers. Okay, I think that's it from mine, guys. Yeah, that is how to access your price list from your estimate and how to access your recipes. Now, I think I'll just jump on to the question that I saw before, and I'll just stop sharing my screen as well. Any questions from your end, guys? Feel free to open, switch on your mics and go for it. But let me just stop sharing, and I can share back again if I have to show you something.
No one ever wants to be first.
Yeah, I'll actually take that question that Craig had before, which was, yeah, about the purchase orders, about the pricing. How would you know if the pricing is updated? And that's this one here, guys. If there was an exclamation mark, you would know that the pricing has changed. But you can always come onto your catalog section and see when the catalog is updated. As about how long was this price valid for? Most of it will be valid for that 1 month, and then the pricing will change next month because there's so much price changes happening in the market, guys. As you know, we're just trying our best to keep them all updated. Yeah, we would not be able to lock the price. Craig was asking if you can ideally lock it for 4 months. I'm not sure if that can be done. Craig, you could just talk to your account manager to get clarification. It's yeah, I'm just not sure about the nuances there. Yeah, I just see some more questions here. We need Dahlsens to hold the price. Yes, Craig, if the PO has been raised, then Dahlsens, from what I understand, will hold the price. Now, obviously, when the PO is raised, I've noticed that some of the builders are raising the purchase orders with some of the old catalogs that they had in there. Now, obviously, we cannot, if that's an old one, which is months ago, and we will not be able to hold that price, I don't think. But if you're picking it up from your accurate pricing that we're sharing with you, and if you're creating an order and sending it to the team, I'm sure they will be able to honor it, and let their account managers talk to you about that in detail as well. And I have a question from Hugh here about Dahlsens prices and individual prices. Do they get updated automatically? You would just receive one pricing here from us, one price list that is your price list, and yes, that will be updated for you automatically, which means if you come in here and click on this one and go to items, the pricing that you see there will be the up-to-date pricing. Now, in the last couple of months, there's been some delays, and it's taken a few days to get the pricing updated on a monthly basis, because there's a lot of, like I said, price changes coming in, but going forward, it should happen right at the beginning of the month. So whatever you see in this list will be the accurate pricing for you. So yeah, so let's wait for more questions. Yeah, if integrations does not show up on my Buildxact page, does that mean that I need to update the subscription? That's a very good question, Isaac. So yeah, if you go to integrations and you can't see any integrations here, that means that you are either on an entry plan, or yeah, that's one of the key reasons I've seen why it would not show up here. Now, the reason for that is Buildxact offers this as an advanced feature integration, so that becomes a part of their Pro plan, I think. Dan, correct me if I'm wrong. I think Pro plan has, yeah, Pro plan has the job side of things as well. So if you get that, you will be able to integrate with us. And yeah, that's the best answer I've got there right now for that.
No, that's spot on, Vivek. In fact, the integrations button won't show at all if you're on the entry plan. So yeah, we've definitely had people ask us about that, but available on Pro and Teams plans.
Yeah, and I think if someone wants to try the Pro plan, Dan, is that something that they can try out? Now, I know Buildxact had told us that if some of our customers want to try it out, we can give them a quick access to it to see what it looks like, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can confirm that in an email later on to the customer.
Yeah, no problem. I will just point out one thing, and I'm going to steal your screen very quickly.
Go for it, mate. Yeah.
Just point out one thing very quickly, in that if you, I suppose, changing subscriptions is something you can do very, very easily. And there's a lot of confusion just around how it functionally works. So it's worth just.
Dan, are you there? I think.
Oh, guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, I think you cut out for a very short while when you were just going to say something important.
Oh, as long as I'm back now.
Yeah, you are now.
Perfect, perfect. I'm getting messages unexpectedly, which is not great.
You're going a bit in and out, but we can hear you now. Oops. All right, so Dan might join back in, but oh yeah, he's right there.
Yep, sorry guys, don't know what happened there. All I was going to add is that it's really easy to actually change your plan if you want to try Pro for a little while. And just to say, if you're on, let's say, entry, and you go up to Pro, and you try it for 2 weeks, and you go, nah, it's not for me. You can change up and down and whatever. And we basically do it on a month by month. So we've had people go, oh, I just want to try Pro. No worries, you can upgrade, try it for a month. If you don't like it, go back. But it's very easy for you to just chop and change as you need to, if that's something you want to play with.
That's excellent. Thanks, Dan.
No worries.
Any other questions, guys?
In our catalogs, we have one price list that's locked and one that is unlocked. So this was point one is Dahlsens DH. Yep, no worries. And this is a point that Vivek touched on earlier. The lock, as with our templates as well, doesn't actually mean that it's kind of out of reach for you. You can definitely use them. It just means someone else is managing it. So you can go in, you can have a look, you can see what details, you can search for the items in estimates. It's just that you can't really tinker with it. You can't change the descriptions and that kind of thing because it's a master list. Someone else is giving you that list to play with. So the locks, don't stress too much about them. It just means that you can't make major edits to them because it's someone else's list.
Yeah, I think another question. I think this is, I'm just reading between the lines here about the two catalogs that you see there, mate. One that's locked and one's unlocked. I think what must have happened is when we first started talking to some other builders about Buildxact, what we did was we shared the catalog in the Excel format, and we asked the customers to load that in. So if you're one of the customers that did that has uploaded the prices from the Excel that we sent you, unfortunately, we would not be able to update that because it was uploaded into Buildxact from your end. So you may see two of them. The one that you've got to use is the one that has the locked symbol on it, because that's the one that we're keeping updated for you. You can delete the other catalog, mate, because I think that's what we're sharing with you now supersedes the previous one that you had. So the locked one is with your specific pricing. Now, if you have any more questions, you could reach out to me, mate, separately, and I can, just do a screen share and just help you identify that and delete the one that is not supposed to be there, or because we've got the more accurate one right now. And this is for everybody. If there is anyone who has these questions, you can either contact Buildxact or you can reach out to me in my email address that we'll be sharing.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I think
just while there might be a few other people typing, just to add, this updated column will give you a great idea, and I know Vivek touched on this earlier, give you a great idea of which one is the most recent list if you do have two lists that are confusing because they look the same. So for example, if you loaded one like Vivek said, and then you had one come from Dahlsens, you can always see which one is the freshest, the most recently changed.
That's right. And what we're trying to do, guys, is that, there is a bit of a color code that you must have seen on my screen when you was picking the catalog. Yeah, that one there. And also the logo that you see there, Dahlsens. So that's something that we'll be updating in all the catalogs going forward. So some of the customers that do not have that as well, this will be the color that people see our catalogs in. So yeah, that's one way to identify what's the accurate one. Yeah. Okay, I think that's we almost hit the end of the webinar, guys. It's long, so I think we'll be finishing the webinar right now. If there is any more questions, feel free to contact us. Like I said, you can contact Buildxact support, or you can contact me as well via the email that we'll be sending to you. I know some of you must have already been a bit advanced for this webinar. You must have seen and done a lot of this that we just discussed now. So we are planning to have another webinar in October, somewhere around October. where we talk about advanced estimation. It'll be something that we've discussed today, but probably a bit more, diving a bit deeper into recipes, etc. So we're just still planning that out, guys, so watch out for that email coming through. And I hope you got something out of this session. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We'll see you all next time.